Okay, so efficacy, right? We know that one, right? It has to be.
You said efficacy is
queen,
right?
It's queen. Efficacy is queen.
I love that.
I mean, I would have said king, but she's queen. She's clearly.
She's queen.
What tips would you give a brand that it's not from the States and wants to enter the market?
So I would say transparency is probably key, and find that point of difference. It is such a crowded market. They have a lot of knowledge at their fingertips, right? Everybody has a smartphone, everybody can look things up very quickly. But I think it's important, and it's our job to educate consumers.
Especially in the US, right? That the end product manufacturers, even in the retail shops, they use a lot of these before and after pictures.
They absolutely use them as a tool, as a marketing tool to get people to buy. When you come to the States, multi-ethnic panels, different skin types, different hair types are truly important for our whole entire region. And I think it makes sense if you could have one ingredient that works on different skin types. Now you've saved that customer, our customers, some money, because they could take that one product and put it into different products if they wanted to.
Welcome to Provitalks 2.0, a new season of Provitalks where the complete value chain process of a natural ingredient will be unraveled through Provital's expertise. Get ready for a journey where innovation and authenticity intertwine to inspire you.
Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Provitalks. We are coming to an end of the value chain journey of natural ingredients. So for that, we have today with us our area and the marketing director in the USA. Welcome, Nina. How are you?
Thank you very much, Clara. I'm excited to be here. I am well. I love visiting Barcelona, and I love coming in to see the team.
That's great.
You are our first international guest.
It's exciting.
So yeah, we are very excited to have you here. It's a pleasure, of course.
Thank you.
And well, before starting our interview, we would like to make an introduction about Provital's US subsidiary, in case anyone haven't heard about it yet.
Yes.
Not probably.
I doubt that.
I mean, if I'm doing my job properly, everybody should know we exist.
You're right. Well, since September 2023, Provital opened a new subsidiary company, which is located in New Jersey.
Yes, that's right.
Which covers directly the US market together with the Canadian market.
Correct.
Right? We have a dedicated team of 5 salespeople located in different parts of the country. And I have to tell you that since we made the announcement, we have received a lot of congratulations from people regarding the great team we have put together. So I guess congratulations to you too.
Thank you. Don't make me blush. Yes, we are a team of 5 with 2 girls that work in the office and another one who supports us. The team that we have together has been selling Provital products for a while, so we are not new to the Provital portfolio, but we are new to the Provital family, being part of them. So we are enjoying ourselves. We are making a lot of noise that we are Provital USA, and we do hope that you could hear it over here across the pond.
Of course. Well, we would like now to start the interview with you. And first step, who is Nina Esposito? Let's introduce yourself. I'm sure that our listeners would love to hear about who you are, your background, where you come from, and well, how did you end up working in the cosmetics industry?
Perfect. So my name is Nina Esposito. I was born and raised in a little town you might know, the Bronx, in New York. Sometimes when I speak and I get comfortable with people, my thick Bronx accent comes out.
We'll see today.
Yeah, we'll see today what happens. You will be happy to know, though, every time I try to speak Spanish, people tell me I don't have an accent. So that might be a cure for me. I went to college and I studied chemical engineering. I have a master's in biotechnology. I love biotechnology. I think it is the way of the future. We'll talk about that a little bit later, I'm sure. And then I started my career at Clairol. So Clairol makes hair care. It's the big herbal essences line in the States. And I loved it there. I was a bench chemist. That's how I started. Clairol was purchased by Procter & Gamble. And I worked for Procter & Gamble for about 8 years as a...
During the transition after the acquisition?
Yes, for sure. I stayed with them for 8 years after the acquisition. I did product research engineering. So what that basically means is I did studies and tests on the actual product. So I would let a consumer dye her hair in front of me. I would ask questions. I would understand what was wrong with the product. And then I would go back and tell the scientists what we would have to improve. Procter & Gamble was moving the site to Ohio. I already mentioned that I was born and raised in the Bronx, and I was not moving to Ohio. Not that it's not a great state, just not for me. So I went to work for a contract manufacturer. And if anybody in this industry wants to learn real quick about cosmetics, they should work at a contract manufacturer. Wow. It's very crazy, very insane. I headed up R&D while I was there. I headed up tech services. But then they were moving to Pennsylvania.
Another move.
Another move. And like I already said, I was born and raised in New York, and I was not going, not that there's anything wrong with Pennsylvania. So then I had a person tell me I would be good in sales. I said, try sales, you're a talker, you'll be fine. So I did. So I threw my hat in the sales ring, and I worked for a commodities company first. That was okay. I'm not really a commodity salesperson. I don't really like to haggle. So I eventually found my way to Centrichem, which, was the distributor for Provital for 40 years before we created Provital USA. And Centrichem had actives, and I loved it. And once Centrichem was sold, this was a natural progression to, create Provital USA. So that's what brought me here today, and I'm super excited to be here. Here we are.
Now that you are at Provital, okay, we want to, your experience is very broad, but at the same time, very cosmetics oriented. So you know a lot of the market, a lot about the US market specifically, and probably of the New York market, as you said. But no, we wanted to get some insights from you about the specificities of this market. And I would like to start. How is the natural trend evolving right now in the US, specifically for natural ingredients? How do you see that going?
So the demand for natural ingredients is definitely booming in the States. I would say that the main driver of that boom is the consumer perception and awareness to the trend. People think it's safe and natural to have natural ingredients, right? And the perception out there is that they are better for you. So when we're thinking about the natural market, there's a boom because all of social media, TikTok is explosive. I'm sure you guys search a lot of things on TikTok.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And you can find anything.
And
you can use it as Google, actually, right?
Actually, I think, people your age probably do use it as Google.
I think I'm too old for TikTok.
People my age still Google, but I'm trying to not Google. I'm trying to TikTok.
Okay.
For sure. And I think the trend of the clean movement, the clean beauty movement, has driven it. I think there's a lot of different facets that are making this trend come to the top of the surface, for sure.
For sure. If you look at the consumers, for example, there's also, it's not only happening in the cosmetics industry, right? It's also in health and wellness, and that is booming. And how is that in the US? I think it started there.
Okay, that's an excellent point, because the health and wellness trend is really very holistic and really pushing consumers to now look at their skincare routine and their beauty care routines in a health and wellness sort of lens, and they're looking at it in that scope and trying to be very holistic about doing it. So I think that's another added value of what is really booming the natural ingredient trend in our industry, for sure. And I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Yes. What other drivers do you think are there? Do you think that, for example, the awareness for environmental issues that...
Yeah, good point.
So that's an excellent point. I think people are uber concerned about our environment. They're very eco-conscious. And again, there's that perception that when we are using natural ingredients, we are being kinder and gentler to our planet as well. I think we need to keep our eyes and ears open for greenwashing and make sure that what we're promising our customers and what brands are promising their customers is actually what they're getting. We want to make sure that green technology that we're going after is what we want. We just have to there is a fine line, so we just have to watch that.
I think that a great point is that, I think you already mentioned it, but that the consumer is using well-known ingredients that, for instance, they use it on its dietary. I mean,
Correct.
I don't know, mint.
Right.
You're drinking
Mint
mint tea, right?
Yes.
So you know that it's a safe
Yes.
and well-known
Yes.
ingredient, and you can use it for your skin, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, green tea extracts, rosemary extracts. I think there's a lot that overlaps that health world that we're seeing come through. And I think, again, the consumer's driving it, right? Because the consumer wants a healthy lifestyle. The consumer wants us to pay attention to the environment. The consumer wants us to be sustainable. So if brands and ingredient manufacturers are not listening, we're going to fall behind the trend of what's happening out there, for sure.
Especially in the era of social media, where the cancel culture appeared like a while back, and it's now part of how we do business, right? We
Correct.
take that into account in many ways. How do you think the US especially has?
I think that the people who are on social media believe what comes out of social media to be truth.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good
and it's
not
bad.
so good.
Exactly. It's what you said about Googling on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah. What's the
That is
credibility of
dangerous.
a 15-year-old TikToker? I mean,
Right. But I will tell you that the majority, I think Anna told us yesterday that there was a statistic of people who are buying product straight off of TikTok. So if my favorite influencer is using that product, I'm going to buy that product. And there's, the button right on TikTok that allows me to buy it. People aren't even going to Amazon now. We're just buying it straight off TikTok. So what's happening on social media, it could either make a brand or it could very easily kill a brand as well if it goes in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we don't see much. Do you think? Well, I think we're starting to see much about ingredients on social media as well, because you mentioned the buying part, right? That's for end products. But what about ingredients? How do we see them on social media, or what do you see that is talked about around the ingredients?
Like, so I think there's a moment for ingredients. I think we have to educate consumers wholeheartedly. Consumers, I think they have a lot of knowledge at their fingertips, right? Everybody has a smartphone, everybody can look things up very quickly. But I think it's important, and it's our job to educate consumers. So you see people out there talking about hyaluronic acid, let's just say, or retinol and the benefits of them. And we probably could use social media to educate and inform our customers about it. And I think it would probably be an avenue that's not used widely yet, but why not be the people that start using it widely?
Let's go.
Let's do it, for sure.
Yeah, we're doing it with this as well.
Yes, for
kind
sure,
of, right?
Exactly.
Yes, and especially now that product efficacy is so important for the end consumer. That is what's driving educational tools to be so massive, right? Or
massive.
The other way around,
right.
Massive tools to be educational.
And I think there's a lot of avenues of education, right? We could, as a salesperson, I could educate my customer when I go there. But if, we go to trade shows, we educate people when they come. We talk about our products and what they do and the benefits. But I think social media platform gives us a very large audience that we could reach all at once to educate our consumers with what our products do and what the benefits are, because efficacy is queen and she will always be queen. So there is, natural is good, but I need my products to work. So
of course.
So I think it's all about the efficacy of the product. So if we can prove, which we do with our in vivos and our in vitros and our before and after pictures, and we could show that to consumers. I mean, consumers are smart. They want to see on pack before and after pictures.
Of course.
So
especially in the US, right? That the end product manufacturers, even in the retail shops, they use a lot of these before and after pictures.
They absolutely use them as a tool, as a marketing tool to get people to buy their product. So why not use it as a marketing tool? I mean, we have it, right? We do all the testing anyway. We have all that testing. Why not use the before and after pictures on social media, on our Instagram to show what it looks like before and after? Because the efficacy will dictate, yes, it's great to be sustainable. It's great to be natural. It's great to be in the health and wellness category. But if you're not efficacious, they might buy you once, but they might not buy you again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, and probably that's the difference between the naturalness trend before and now, right? It's not differentiated anymore. I think the consumer is starting to see it as a joint benefit.
Yes, and I think one of the goals of Provital USA is definitely to combine the science and nature. I think people see the Provital name and they know it's natural actives, but the science behind it and what I've seen in my visit here this week to Provital and our in vitro lab and our scientists and what we have in the pipeline, it's so exciting. It's super exciting.
Don't give any spoilers.
I know, I gotta watch myself. It's high science. And one of the goals as the marketing department in the US is to get that message out to the States and to Canada and really let them know that we have arrived. We are a scientific, active, natural company. We're not a natural company, we're a scientific, active, natural company.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's that? Yeah. I really like this. Yeah. Okay, now going back to this natural ingredient demand, which is increasing every year, especially, I would say, for the past few years.
For the past few years, for sure.
Would you say that this means that the synthetic ingredients demand is decreasing due to this increase of the natural ones?
I think that the synthetic players out there have their work cut out for them because there's a lot stacked against them. The regulatory environment, there's a law that's being passed called MoCRA.
Yep.
It's the first change to the FDA in like 85 years. It's really putting the onus on the brands to have the source and the traceability of where their ingredients come from. And a lot of people don't want to start from a synthetic base if it's not a green, natural base. So I think it's a combination, right? I think there's a desire for the natural going up. Mm-hmm. And I think there's I don't want to use synthetic trend also. So I think we're seeing that separation grow even further than we would. And I think having that push for the botanicals lends the conversation to lab-grown ingredients and the biotechnology that's out there for us to take advantage of, as well as our consumers to take advantage of. I mean, Biotech is a fabulous option. It's lab-grown. We know it's reliable. We know where it comes from. We know it's traceable. We could be very transparent with our customers, and I think transparency is key. I mean, Provital does it very well. But if you're synthetic and you don't want to talk about where you came from, that's not cool. So
obviously,
it's better to be transparent.
It's true. But do you think that the final consumer, because we know that the customer and us are amazed by biotechnology and all the benefits that it brought us, yes, right? In any industry, I think it's the future too. But do you think that the user, the cosmetics user, thinks about that? Do you think it is starting to I think we probably need to educate them there as well. I think there's a population that certainly does get it. But again, I think there's room for us to educate over and over again to make sure that they're understanding it. Because you're right, we live in this world. So we know what it's all about and we take for granted. If I was to poll my girlfriends at home, I don't think they could tell me, what biotech is or where it comes from. I just don't. I don't think that's what interests them, So I think there is
room to educate, certainly for our consumers.
Yeah, I think we are getting there, but we have to keep being like persistent and step by step.
Yes, for sure. Because I think it's like a baby, right? When you potty train, when you go to potty train your daughter, you're not going to do it just once.
Of course.
It'll never work. So you have to just keep doing it again and again and again to train somebody. So I think that's the same. It's the same thing. You just have to keep going over and over again to make them understand that this is the way, a better way. It's a better way to do things.
Yeah, definitely. You also mentioned regulatory, because I think that's a key point when it comes to market and commercialization of any product, right? Or for a specific market. And you mentioned that there's a new passage, and I didn't catch the
So MoCRA,
MoCRA,
which is the modernization of the cosmetic regulatory, I don't think it's act, but the A stands for something. It's the first rule passed since 1938.
Wow.
And it's
Almost
certainly
40 years ago, right?
yeah. It's a long time that we haven't really done any rules and regulations, and really my hat goes off to the people who work in regulatory. I could not do it. There's so many rules and so many regulations out there for labeling and packaging and what we could say on pack, what we can't say on pack, what's safe, what's not safe. And so the landscape is almost like walking through a minefield.
It's so complicated, but at the same time, it's so important for the end consumer, right? It's so related to the claims that we do. And how can we do that? How?
Yeah, it is truly connected exactly to that end consumer. And I don't even think the end consumers, most of them don't even realize that there's a regulatory person behind them making sure everything they put on their skin is safe enough for their skin, and everything that we use is up to par with where it needs to be. And my advice to anyone out there who is either ingredient-based or brand-based is that when you go into this regulatory world, either make sure you know what you're talking about, get yourself a consultant, because it's really, you don't want to screw up any of your regulatory, and it's really, again, that consumer is pushing that, right? Because that consumer wants more. So the reason the FDA is changing things is because it's getting pressure from the consumers to make some changes and some rules around what we do on a daily basis. So you really have to be careful with what we put out there, I think. And regulatory, like I said, I feel like it's a landmine. You have to be super careful, even when you talk on pack in the States. So in the States, you have to use words like helps with, reduces the appearance of. You have to make sure that you're using certain words that help the consumer understand exactly what they're getting. Because, I don't have a magic potion to make these lines just totally disappear, but I do have something that's going to reduce the appearance of them for sure. So you have to just be honest about what you're selling at the end of the day.
Do you think the consumers' main concern, because they have been pushing, right, these regulations, do you think their main concern is regarding safety or what?
I think their main concern is not necessarily safety. I think their main concern is efficacy and making sure that things work.
Yeah.
And that at the same time, the regulations are in place to make sure that we're doing things in a safe and proper manner and we're not harming the environment and all the other items. And labeling is truly important. They're starting to put things on the label and calling, companies have to list everything on the ingredients. So you're not going to be able to say preservative-free if one of your ingredients contains a preservative. It's why Provital came out with, a whole line of our actives that are preservative-free, because we know our customers want an end product that says preservative-free. So we have to offer products that are preservative-free, because everything counts when you're putting it on that label.
Yeah. And you talked about greenwashing. There's not a word for it. It's not greenwashing, but there's a lot of regulatory washing. Like there are some claims that were even prohibited, at least in the European regulations, because of that, because they were saying the truth, but a truth that wasn't exactly what it was. For example, for an end product, you cannot say preservative-free, even if it doesn't contain a listed preservative. If it contains alcohol, for example, that also preserves, you cannot say, you're not allowed to say
Correct.
preservative-free. And that is something that they had to ban
They have to
because
stop
people
it.
were using it a lot.
And as a regular consumer, you don't know that
Exactly.
alcohol is a
Exactly.
preservative.
Exactly.
Right.
Probably not.
Well,
Probably-
probably alcohol would be
Well,
well,
that's
some people would know, but there are many others.
of course.
There are many others that are way more difficult.
Right. Agreed.
Okay, Nina, focusing on marketing strategies, what strategies would you say that have been successful in order to put natural ingredients in the US market?
So one of the biggest, I mean, we think of things very holistically in the States, and we like to do things from every angle. But the biggest one I would say is us, the people, the salespeople, right? We get in your face, we talk about our ingredients, and we talk about them ad nauseum. We want to keep bringing them up. And so an example of it working is that I had a customer that used many different ingredients, and they didn't come from the best sources, but they used a lot of different extracts. But the extracts that they used were not from good places. They weren't sustainable.
Yeah.
They couldn't trace them. There was nothing like that. And I would show up and I would give them our catalog and I would point to exactly what we had that could replace what they had time and time again. Okay, you're dealing with chemists, you're dealing with things, it wasn't really going anywhere. So then I made a big sustainability presentation and I went in and I gave them our sustainability report. I gave them data of, what the market was seeing and really pushed the sustainability angle, which we do quite well. And really, the purpose was to get their team to believe that sustainability was the way of the future, which it is.
Of
I
course.
wasn't really lying.
100% agree.
100% was not lying. And in doing so and being persistent and using different angles, right? So my sales angle wasn't really working, so I had to pivot and I had to use a different angle, which was my sustainability angle. I got them to change over, I want to say, 6 or 7 ingredients that they used that were, this was over a period of time. I wasn't
Yeah.
Superwoman, but 6 or 7 that they use to our Provital ingredients. So, I mean, if you're a brand and you want to become more sustainable and you want your profile to look better, you should call Provital and we could help you out.
We can tell you that. We have transparency data.
Yes, we do. We're very
course.
transparent. So I think that's a story I'm proud of because it took a little tenacity to keep going back. As a salesperson, you have to have thick skin. I think coming from the Bronx helps me have thick skin. And you need to be able to hear no time and time again and just know that if you go back and just tell your story again and again, that something will eventually happen.
Imagine if it was that easy.
A similar thing happened recently with, we just launched a product called Densinaria.
Yeah.
Right? And Densinaria is a hair care product, and it's good for 3 different, we have volumizing, we have strength, and we have split ends on it. And, usually it takes some time to work with a customer and get a new ingredient in. But we were so gung-ho about this new ingredient. It happened to be the first ingredient that Provital USA launched, right?
Yeah.
We were super excited about it. So the whole team took it and ran with it. And I mean, I'm happy to say that, because we all sort of talked about it and got it out there, like we had our first order, within like 6 months of
It's not
launch.
usual to
It's-
launch an active ingredient and in just 6 months
have an
receive
order.
the first order.
It was
so
super cool. So,
congrats.
persistency
Great work.
pays off. Thank you.
And for a new subsidiary, remember,
Exactly.
they were
It's only
not new in the
then.
industry, but the subsidiary was new. So
Yeah, so it was kind of cool. But holistically, I think people should use, their digital data. People should use their marketing partners. I think it's a holistic approach to getting out there.
yes, holistic approach. And you talked about angles, about which angle you should address when you are talking to a different
Yes.
consumer. Well, not consumer, sorry, but customer.
Yes.
So what do you think are the key areas or key points that our customer is interested when buying a natural ingredient? What are they looking for in a natural ingredient?
Okay, so efficacy, right? We know that one, right? It has to be.
You said efficacy is
It's
queen, right?
It's
You
queen.
mentioned- you
Efficacy is
mentioned
queen.
I love that.
I mean, I would have said king, but she's queen.
She's
Clearly.
She's queen.
So efficacy is queen, and everybody wants something that's efficacious. I also think you could push the angle of trends. Everybody wants to be in on the latest market trend. Everybody wants to know what the latest market trend is. So pushing the trend agenda when you have a new ingredient, where does it fit in the middle of the trend? And we do such a great job. I mean, I hate to be boastful, but we do such a great job of fitting our new actives with the trends that are out there that it makes sense. So you could push that angle. You could push the sustainability angle and the safety angle, which is super important to some of our customers. You could push, if you push regulatory, you could push the fact that we have all the data for regulatory. Like our regulatory department is fantastic, and you get these documents with everything. Like you just have to pass them to your customer, and they're good. So I think there's definitely a few angles that you could push. One of them, I think, that helps us is formulation. So when you have a new active and you're going out there, a lot of times you're talking to formulators. Their job is not easy. They have to make these products. The easier our products are to formulate with, the easier their job becomes. But even if we have an ingredient that's not so easy to formulate with, if we could provide formulation assistance, formulation guidelines, a person that we know is on the other end of the phone that can answer our formulation questions, that all becomes really beneficial to our consumers. So just knowing which avenue you want to go in is probably, the biggest part of a salesperson's job. We have to know which angle we want to hit. But I think we have many that we could be helpful with.
And I think that in the US team, you have quite some experience regarding the formulation part.
Correct.
So I think that's very useful when treating with customers, right? I mean,
super useful. So we have Bill O'Brien, who had been a formulator before, and myself, who had been a formulator before. So before we go to our magnificent Laura at Provital, Spain, the team often asks Bill or myself, do you guys have any history with this, any knowledge? What should we do? And sometimes Bill and I could figure it out and give some of our own responses. And I think our customers respond to that as well, that we're super into helping them. And one of the things we do well is if a customer needs help with something, even if the help is not going to be a Provital ingredient, we help. I mean, that's what we're there for, right? We're there to help. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And is there something that you think it's more specific of the US? Like, for example, I know I like work in product development, and your team and the US team many times ask for the multi-ethnicity of our panels. And how do you think that is important as well?
The United States is unique in that way, is that we are a true melting pot, right? So when you come to the States, multi-ethnic panels, different skin types, different hair types,
of course,
are truly important for our whole entire region. So I think when we push the product development team or ask marketing to include this in a brief, it's because that would truly help our sales. I mean, for sure. I mean, if we had an ingredient that worked on, different skin types, and we have done it, right? We have shown different skin types for sure on some of our ingredients. I know we're working on the hair care one, and everybody is waiting patiently for the different hair types to come out, but it's just who we are. We are multicultural, we are diverse, and we like to be inclusive. I think brands like to be inclusive. So we like to be able to say we could treat everybody, even if it's different products for everybody, but your brand has a product for everybody. I think that's what's important.
This is something we've been seeing recently, that now brands, instead of just launching one product that would fit everyone, they are producing specific products for each skin type or each hair, different kind of dry type.
Absolutely.
And this fits perfectly with, of course, with a country that has so many different.
So many different backgrounds, so many different nationalities, so many different ethnicities. I think you're right, and I think brands like that. They get to launch more products, and I think it makes sense if you could have one ingredient that works on different skin types. Now you've saved that. Now you've saved that customer, our customers, some money because they could take that one product and put it into different products if they wanted to. So I think there's many benefits to it. In hair care specifically, there are people who just cater to one type of hair or another, and it broadens your customer base to be able to go in that direction. So even when we talk about it and we talk about the testing that's been done on Caucasian, African, and Asian skin types, you could see our customers like, that's great. Like they like that we've expanded what we test on. They like that our panels are not only multi-ethnicity, but also gender, male, female, doesn't matter. Let's test on both.
Probably.
Age, you could run the gamut. It's obviously, we're in 2024, everybody's buying skincare, people, like everybody's buying it.
I think that for us, each time is more difficult, right? Because if we have to consider all the different angles, I mean, we would never stop, right?
That's right. Oh no, there's so many, there's so many angles to consider is right. You have to pick like the big three. You have to go with like the
but we're doing, I think
we're
we're doing
a
very
good
well.
job.
Yeah, no, it's the beauty of it, right? To keep innovating for this.
Yeah, of course.
For all these.
Yes. So in the U.S. particularly,
Yes.
it's important for sure because that's just our market.
So we have a very broad market then, and there's a lot of competition out there. There are a lot of brands covering all these needs. So what would you say are the challenges that a company has to face when entering the U.S. market, and especially for the natural side of the market?
So I think since the efficacy is so important, and I keep bringing it up, the science behind that is what we really need to help brands communicate. If you can't communicate the science behind what your product will do, you will lose the consumer. The consumers are quite savvy these days, and they understand a lot of the science behind what we do, or they'll Google it or TikTok it. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out for sure.
They have a lot of ways to figure it out.
They have a lot of ways to figure it out for sure. So I think one of the biggest challenges we have is getting the science message out there. And then if you're a brand, one of the biggest challenges you have is getting the science message out there.
And where is the science message?
Right. And the science message resides with the ingredient supplier, right? So I think that's a big hurdle for brands for sure. I think another big hurdle, which I spoke about, is the formulation challenges. You have to make sure that you're helping your formulators. You have to make sure that your regulatory is all buttoned up and you could help them there. You don't want your customer, we don't want our customer, and hence we don't want the brand's customer to get hung up on things that they're not able to explain easily. So we, as the salespeople and the face of Provital, need to do everything we can in our power to help our brands then formulate with it, have regulatory check marks, and explain that science behind it.
Do you have an example of an initiative that you've implemented recently for this educational part, for transmitting that science message to the final?
So I think besides using the sales team as the personal go-between for that scientific message, I think that webinars are a great idea. I think that one-on-one meetings with scientists that we have, I mean, our scientists are super duper smart guys.
Scientists.
And I think that having them come on and explain to our customers is a great idea. But I also think, we put a new strategy in place this year by hiring a scientific communicator, right? We have someone just in charge of communicating our science. And the reason we did that is so that we could easily explain to non-technical people the science behind what we do.
We've actually have an episode with her.
Awesome! Awesome.
So I think the audience, they already know her
Okay.
a little bit.
A little bit? Perfect. And Sylvia is great. And I think that allowing us to explain to the brands who then have to explain it to their customer in layman's terms is a great
It helps to translate the science.
to, because I could talk about the transcriptome if I want to and what it does in gene level and protein level, but if I don't relate that to the wrinkles and the fine lines and the glow on my skin,
Of course.
then why are we buying the product that I'm selling? So I think for brands specifically, it's important. And the other thing is, we deal with a lot of contract manufacturers. And so those contract manufacturers then use our ingredients so we sometimes are not the face to the brand. So it's important that we make sure that our message is getting communicated through and the right way, because you don't want anything lost in translation for sure.
I think you want to make it easy for your customer, right?
Of course. You want to do
Especially with contract manufacturers, that they have to communicate it again
exactly.
to the end
Exactly. They have to
customer
now
who will
communicate.
produce the
Correct.
products.
Which is why I hate just like sending a presentation to someone or just saying, here, read it. There has to be an explanation, because it's such high science that it does have to be explained.
Yeah.
sure.
And as you said, it's obviously the hard science part that has to be explained, but also the regulatory part, the formulation part. There are so many sides to it, and there's an expert for everything. And you salespeople are the expert for everything for a second, right?
That's right. That's correct. We're like at the center, but then when we need help, there's certainly spokes of that wheel that we could rely on all throughout Provital. So it's a great team.
Yeah. A lot of specialization then for the cosmetics industry lately, right?
Certainly specialization, and certainly when we're talking to our consumers and when you're talking to a brand and they want things that are specialized, part of our job is to read that and to know what they want. So I think ingredients that are focused on specialized items are sort of a trend as well. Like, I want to help you with your dark circles, or I want, not you.
I could use some of that too.
Me too.
But okay.
Or I want to help somebody with their, with the neck, or with, so we're specialized in a lot of ways, not just with our ingredients and our science, but then in who could help us. So I think it's a good team for sure.
And in a way, to reach this different buyer persona, what do you think is the best approach, or I don't know, the best channels to use to get to them and be able to communicate the things that we want to communicate and the way we want to do it?
So again, I like holistic. So people are people and you can't replace them. We have a great team. Your salespeople are your front line, right? They're going to go out. And then there's the trade shows. We're going to go to a trade show. We're going to talk to people. We're going to reach our potential buyers, our current buyers. Then there's also our digital marketing, right? We're going to have a lot of digital marketing campaigns. We are going to be able to get in front of that consumer and maybe talk educationally. We are going to be able to give them a preview of what we have. I think digital marketing cannot be underscored, obviously. We have social media outlets that we could use. We have webinars that we could do. And another one that I'm really enjoying that I'm just part of since this new position is really our media partners. So partnering with the editors and the papers out there, and that sort of almost not advertising, but almost I want to say like that approval, like someone who's also backing you and someone who's talking about your products and talking about your high science out there and wanting to interview your scientist and wanting to talk to people from your company. I think that sort of validates all the work that we're trying to do. So I don't think there's one way I like to go out and get that message across. I think it's a very holistic way that we go out and really trying to focus the campaigns to let the salespeople know their job, and then what we do at the events that are live, and then what you do on top of that with the digital campaigns, and then with our media outlets. So I think it's a definitely holistic approach.
Yeah, you're right. I think that the person-to-person contact is key.
Yes.
And to establish healthy relationship, of course.
Right.
It's very important.
For sure.
And
So
the other part as well, like the digital marketing or the social media part, I think helps a lot to maintain that message that you were saying, right?
Yeah, because it's impossible to be in contact
With everyone.
All the time.
the people at the same time. So
I mean, it would be a goal, like when our friends from the Brazilian team did their LinkedIn Live. Like, I would love to do a LinkedIn Live. I want some followers on LinkedIn like them. So, but that's a real good example of how in touch they are with their consumers and their customers, that people are going to come on and watch the girls, do their thing on Instagram Live. I mean, that's a great platform, for sure. So, and that's another touch point with your customers. And I think it's not easy. The natural ingredient world is not easy. I think we have to be different from our competitors out there. I think our high science makes us different. I think our efficacy makes us different, and I think our team makes us different. So,
of course,
yeah,
I agree. So before moving to our final part, I would like to ask a question that I think it can be very useful for some of our listeners, especially the ones that are not from the US.
Okay.
I think that the US cosmetics market is the biggest one in the world, if not one. It's in the top 3 for sure.
For sure.
Still the biggest. Still
Is
the
it
biggest.
still the
China is there,
biggest?
but still the biggest.
And there is a lot of competition, a lot of brands are growing, and we've seen new brands every day. But I think there's also room for brands from different parts of the world.
For sure.
What tips would you give a brand that it's not from the States and wants to enter the market? How do they have to adapt the communication or maybe the product orientation to succeed in the US market?
I think first and foremost, they need to be transparent with the US customer. I think we love transparency. We don't want to feel that we're being lied to or played with. So I would say transparency is probably key, and find that point of difference. It is such a crowded market, and we knew for every 400 brands that are trying to be born, 1 or 2 of them might make it to that point where we see them on shelf somewhere. It's a really hard market. But if you already exist in Spain and you want to come over, try to find your niche, try to find your point of difference, and speak to the consumer truthfully. And, use social media to your advantage and use your influencers to your advantage to really break into a very crowded market. But certainly don't be afraid. I mean, we take everybody. Don't be afraid. We take everybody in the States, for sure.
Great.
For sure.
Everybody that follows the regulations.
Everybody that follows MoCRA. You could come in. For sure.
Okay, so we have come to the end, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, but we have the last part that it's a surprise, a little surprise, okay? Get ready.
Ready?
We have several, questions, quick questions.
Quick questions.
For you.
Do I get a buzzer? Am I supposed to buzz?
You're the only one here.
Okay. All right. I like competition.
What is your favorite active ingredient from Provital? And develop your answer. Why?
Oh boy. Okay, that's a tough question. I love them all. However, I will say that with my background in biotechnology, I am super stoked about Shaloxome, which is our brand new ingredient. I know, and I could talk about it all day long because it comes from plant endophytes, and it has, we harness them and then we make the ingredient through biotechnology, and I really feel like it's the way of the future. I mean, each plant has their own microbiome, which are their own endophytes. There's, 350,000 species, I think, of plants on this planet. So each one, right? Imagine the possibilities. I mean, we'll never see it. Endless possibilities. But I think it's really cool because as we're making ourselves beautiful and doing things like that, we do have to care about the planet and we do have to care about our resources. So I'll talk about Shaloxome all day long because I just think I think biotechnology is the way, and I think we really hit it out of the park with this one. So I'm excited. Plus, besides that, I mean, it has a great barrier story. It does some great things for our barrier, and it's going to replenish our skin, right, and make us look gorgeous. So why not? Why not have it in every product out there, everybody? Shaloxome, call me.
Amazing. Next question. what is the latest cosmetic product that you have purchased?
Oh, you got me. I just purchased Peter Thomas Roth. It's a lip product. It's called, I think it's Fill-X, or it's a lip product. I can't recall the name right now, but it was Peter Thomas Roth. And I bought it because it has our line fill in it. So I'm dying to try it. Line fill is a product that plumps the lips. I did not try it yet, so I just purchased it. Line fill is a product that volumizes from the inside out. So I was super psyched when I see an ingredient in a pack, like on the shelf out there that's ours. I almost can't help myself but to buy it. So
I'm guessing you bought it in the States.
I did.
Okay. Okay. You need to buy something here now.
I know.
It's waiting for you.
It is. It is. It is.
Okay. Next question. What do you look for when you're buying a cosmetic product? Apart from lip plumping.
Okay. What do you think I look for?
Efficacy.
Efficacy. That's what I look for. Efficacy. It has to work. It definitely has to work. I am guilty of trying products and then never buying them again. So I am very, and then people call me since I'm like in the business, for recommendations.
Yeah.
And I won't, you have to be very careful because I won't recommend something that doesn't work. You want to make sure, so efficacy is queen. That's what I look for. High science.
We have a highlight for today's episode.
We have a highlight for life. I love that. I love efficacy is queen.
Yeah, amazing.
For sure.
Okay, next question. Now complete the sentence. The best of the cosmetic industry is?
The people. I love the people. I love the people. I love being in sales. I love getting to meet new people. I love the team I work with. I think the people make this place a really great place to be in. I mean, and we're a small industry, right? We're not as big as we think we are.
That's true.
So, for the most part.
Yeah. Big family.
It's a big family. Exactly. So the people are what keeps me in this industry for so many years. I'm not going to tell you how many years, but a lot of years.
Okay, and after this pink bubble that we've just mentioned, what is the worst of the cosmetics industry? What would you say is the worst?
I mean, I think the choices. I think it's not easy
for the
have,
consumer,
yes,
for sure.
It's not easy. I mean, there's so many choices out
Worse
there.
than Netflix.
Right, exactly. And even I don't want to be that consumer out there. And sometimes I don't even want to be that formulator out there who has to look at even the ingredients I put in front of you. I mean, just use all of them. But, I don't think they can. But there are a lot of choices in our industry. And it could be very confusing out there. So I would say the worst part is the choices, for sure.
I agree.
Yeah, for an indecisive person like me too.
Yes, me too. It's not easy.
Okay, and now we have the final question.
Okay.
Who would you like to see in Provitalks?
Okay.
Dream big.
Dream big. Dream big. So
or not, I don't know.
Okay. But the person has to be alive, obviously.
I think it will help.
Okay.
It would make it more feasible.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go with, are you ready? People, I think we should get Taylor Swift.
Yeah, no.
Totally. Our ratings would go through the roof if we had Taylor.
Can you bring her?
I mean, I don't know. My niece is a huge Swiftie. Is that what they call them, right?
Yeah.
Swifties?
Yeah.
I'll see if she could figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, you are invited to join Provitalks.
Taylor Swift officially invited by us to join Provital.
We wish.
Yeah, I know. Maybe if we hashtag her or I don't know,
tag her or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever kids do on social media these days.
That's right.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, if you have a new cosmetic brand in mind,
That's right.
Yeah, she looks is a great ingredient.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Well, Nina, that's the end of our interview.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
It was lovely. Yes,
Yeah.
it was lovely.
I hope you had a great time.
I had a great time. This was awesome.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
We hope our listeners also got the greatest time here with our area's manager and marketing director in the US, and that you got some source of inspiration for your future projects in the US especially. So thank you.
Also, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you have all our episodes available as well in Spotify. See you soon.
Thank you for watching and listening to Provitalks. We hope you got some source of inspiration to create your own kind of beauty. If you don't want to miss our next expert interview, subscribe to our channel and don't hesitate to contact us at weareprovital.com. Provital. Do care.